Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Team Jacked podcast. I am your host, Raymond McNeil. Joining me, as always, is the amazing Judgmental Critter.
It's me. I have a new design. Yay!
It's very pink and very pretty, and we all love
Very
it very
pretty.
much.
I'm very beautiful.
And the ever salacious young Kaiser.
See, guys, he came up with a new one today. I feel special.
Yeah, do you know what salacious means?
I forgot.
Good. Say it that way. Anyway. Today, you may notice Twy is not with us. She is currently out, I think she said camping. A nice little vacation with some family. So she's having a good day. My VTuber thing is just hopping up and down weirdly. Like it's like delayed. I don't know what's going on with that. Oh well, not important. It still works just fine.
Yeah.
So we're kind of doing a nice easy stream. I don't expect it to be super long this time around. We kind of don't have all that much to cover currently. But after the 2 video marathon we did with Anthony's video, I thought something light, a little more a little less like response video-y, a little more just talking general concepts. I think that would be kind of fun. We do have a video that we're responding to, but it's someone that I think we're going to end up agreeing with on the majority.
Yeah, of course, the experience before scarred Twilight so much that she had to touch grass, which is understandable.
To just kind of round down a little bit on that, I did, if people saw on Twitter, extend my hand over to Anthony and be like, hey, if you ever just want to do a one-on-one conversation, I didn't get a chance to specify this. I would have been on stream or just in private or what have you. I would have been happy to have that. Mm-hmm. He responded, and his response was basically, I'll have to watch what you guys said, and then I'll decide. Which doesn't give me hope, so I was very much upfront. Like, I don't think you're going to be endeared to us on it, but just know a one-on-one would be a much more tame event by comparison. Haven't gotten word back from him yet. Door's still open. I'd be more than happy to converse with him on everything he said in that video. Considering the track record of a lot of people who have said similar things, not typically wanting to have a conversation with people, I doubt it, but I'm more than willing to be pleasantly surprised. The offer is open, and I hope he takes me up on it.
I guess that extends from me as well, because I think I even said the same thing on Twitter as well, anyways, in that same thread.
Yeah, and
in fact, the weird thing was you were caught in like a chain block that he had.
yeah. I think that's because he made a post, I think, a year or a couple of months back, something. It's been a while, complaining about one of Mahler's videos and being like, why does a video on the Last Jedi need to be 2.5 hours? In fact, why do you need 3 of them that are 2.5 hours? And I basically stood up like, sometimes there's a lot of details you need to go through and be very thorough to prove your points.
Also, keep in mind, this is the same guy who praised the freaking Plinkett reviews. Let's just throw that out there a little bit.
Were the Plinkett reviews overall longer than the prequels?
More than likely. I'm willing to bet that. Even if they're not, they're still really long. And also,
Bernoulli's Law.
Bernoulli's Law. Thank you, Pete.
Yeah, thanks, Pete.
I think the whole argument about like, oh, this review is long or longer than something, I think that's kind of like it's kind of a silly take to have, because you don't know. Yeah, you don't know what all that time is being dedicated towards.
Yeah, like and on top of that, the idea that, like, I don't know. What was explained, like, Mahler actually put in front of one of his videos, like, the way you're supposed to watch this is however you want. So if you want to just stop in the middle and take a pause and come back to it later, feel free. It's like, you have the control. It's not like the video is going anywhere unless something... Is it Brandolini's
Law.
Okay. Brandon Leany. Oh no, Brandon, what did you do?
What the fuck? Wait. Are you sure I'm salacious?
Yeah,
you looked it up. You actually looked it up.
Well, somebody sent me the definition, so someone reminded me of that. So,
you want a long, boring review? Go to Quentin Reviews. Ooh. Oh,
that's a burn.
That's a
burn.
as someone who has been someone who does watch a lot of EFAP. That's a deep cut. I haven't
same. Dude, I used to be a fan of that guy as well, which is unfortunate.
It's one of those things that like typically it's strange because like the way that YouTube typically works is you're a fan of someone and then they have two directions to go. Either they start doing something that you're not really a fan of and you kind of stop following them, or they start doing something that you actively disagree with and you start disliking them. Like I haven't seen a YouTube creator that there's very few that I stick with consistently that have maintained the same content. Like Game Grumps I can think of, but even then I've gone in the periods of falling off and then jumping back on. It typically depends on what they're playing, that sort of thing. So it's like
I'm mostly just watch the 10-minute Power Hour nowadays. Or I'll go back and rewatch their Punch-Out playthrough, because that's my favorite. And I've rewatched that playthrough like 5 times.
Oh, dude, I was there for the Sonic Boom days. Oh my god, that was magical as a playthrough. Because I remember like in episode like 7 or 8 or something, they actually got pulled into the editing room while the guy was working on the first episode of editing it, and he was pointing out all of the different weird, crazy things that were happening in the cutscene, where like characters were just popping in and out of existence.
Oh, shop, TeddyBearPaladin super chat. Let's go.
Funko Bear. Big Brother says one must discern the fear from which a nightmare draws its form, and in doing so, I'd find why this nightmare fixated upon my existence. Our cub's mind held the answer.
Oh.
Are we about to get some Inception shit?
I'm so excited for next week.
Yeah.
What happens next week? What happens next time? Teddy Bear!
More!
Or like, I'll continue my thread. Or you discover a YouTuber that you really click with their content now, and you go back through their archive trying to find what they used to do, and you're just not jiving with it. There was a guy that did, I think, a really good breakdown of a couple of antique horror games, including some of the old cabinet shooters like House of the Dead, and he also did one for... Oh, was it Galarians, maybe? No, it wasn't Galarians. It was some other, like, Resident Evil-esque horror game. No, it was actually an RPG horror game where people were like, the main characters were mutating. It was actually a really neat
is
idea.
it Parasite Eve?
No, not Parasite Eve.
Or are you talking... Oh, sorry. Is it Digital Devil Saga?
No.
Isn't that a song? That's a song. Parasite
Eve? No, that's a game.
It's a song. I remember. Baby Metal sings it.
I was going to say, it's a book, then it became a game, and then it's probably been made into a song.
Yes.
But to like, he did these good reviews that I thought were actually pretty substantive, and I wanted to know more about these games. Then I looked through his history, and it's mostly just him speedrunning, and I'm like, I have no interest in that.
I don't even watch my own old content. Like, if I go like more than like 2 years out, I'm like, eh.
I am actively afraid to look back at my old My Hero video to see like how wrong I was and how I appraised things. Because like, it's one of those things. Like, I have refined my criteria for actually looking at media, and I don't know how I handled myself back then when I was trying to like I think I had 2 videos where I thought I covered the flaws of My Hero, and then I had thoughts on comparing My Hero and Ruby and Little Witch. That was one of my biggest
Great thumbnail.
videos.
10 out of 10 thumbnail.
Yeah.
Oh, I thank you so much. I worked so hard on that thumbnail. You have no idea. Like, we're talking a straight week of work went into that when I wasn't editing.
Nice.
The getting that shot of Akko on the broom, it's only on one poster in the entire Little Witch franchise, and it's so fucking small, so I had to like upscale it. It was very annoying.
Damn.
So when you're sitting there going frame by frame through the show, trying to find like the right angle where their hands aren't in front of their face or something.
Yes.
Let's see. Periodic Pete. Speaking of older videos, we don't talk about Kaiser. Remember those really shitty KH1 videos we EFAP when we first met? Those were terrible. Oh, Pete, your videos were not that bad.
Don't remind me about Kingdom Hearts videos. I am still embarrassed. I tried for a very brief window back in early 2019 to like standardize a review process for like recent games, and I did a review of Resident Evil 2 Remake and Kingdom Hearts 3. And the Resident Evil 2 Remake one I think came out all right, but the Kingdom Hearts 3 one, I don't know. I feel like I needed a lot more time cooking on my issues with Kingdom Hearts 3. I mean, obviously, Twilight probably hates that video.
Speaking on my own, like, Kingdom Hearts video, which is like my second oldest video, I think overall the video is good. The presentation probably could have been a little bit better, and the thumbnail definitely could have been better. Those are the only things that I would say is wrong with that. I am just so lucky that I haven't been making content until really recently, so I can say all my stuff's pretty great.
But, you know, on the record of looking back at old things and, you know, either being wistful for an older time or looking forward to the future, I think it bleeds right into our current topic of discussion, which is about the establishment of characters and where a story might take them.
Coolio.
So, to give a little bit of lead-in, we have all three of us have watched both episodes of Amazing Digital Circus, right?
Yeah, right, Kaiser?
So about that.
You didn't. You knew the stream was happening, and it's like 30 combined minutes.
I am a busy man. I have a job outside of this. I have YouTube content to make. And I have other shows that I promised to get into for other content, for other collabs.
Oh, okay.
I have.
Good. Okay, so it'll be me and Critter's stream. Got it. All right.
I can fill in some of the blanks, okay?
Okay, there's a difference between some of the blanks and literally all of the blanks. It's like an ad lib that's just several blank lines all the way down.
There's no words. It's just like lined paper.
You underestimate my creativity.
Says the man that needs to be reminded what salacious meant.
Oh, who the fuck even uses that?
My friend did for his gamer tag, and then Xbox made him change it. Also, your thing froze.
He was too stunned. The boy was too stunned to speak.
Damn. Time Executor. Come on, Kaiser. As punishment, you get to rewatch Ironwood being a cartoon villain. No!
Periodic Pete says, it was fun, but I'm not going to be able to stick around for the rest. Got some catching up to do while I'm behind on my next script. Have a tip, ya champs. Thank you, Pete. Thank you so much.
Oh,
yeah,
thanks,
see you around,
Pete.
dude.
All
Thanks
right.
a lot.
So, let us get into the video that we're covering, which, again, I don't think we're going to have any real problems with this video. This is from Ayy Lmao, who is covering basically the same topic that we're covering, which is, again, the Amazing Digital Circus and the establishment of the character of Jax. And there was a bit of a situation that developed around it, and hopefully Ayy Lmao can give us some insight into exactly what that situation is about.
Yay!
You guys ready?
All right. Yep.
Ready.
Goes to be said, the disclaimer.
Since the release of the Digital Circus's pilot back in October last year, one of the most loved characters was Jax. This purple rabbit, voiced by Michael Kovac, was immediately a fan favourite, with the only other character rivaling him in popularity being the show's protagonist, Pomni. However, since the release of episode 2, the reception of Jax has flipped almost overnight. Jax quickly became the most hated and divisive character within the show. This fan backlash has escalated to hate towards anyone who likes the character, and even accusations of retconning towards the showrunner. In this video, I'm going to examine how this all happened, talk about how Gooseworks responded to this hate, and then move on to talk about audience reactions and media literacy. So, dating back to even prior to the release of the show, Goose had always stated that Jax was to be an aggressive, rude character. In one tweet from July 2023, Gooseworks states how she's excited to see the Jax fandom get split in half when they see how much of an actual prick he is in the series.
Okay, so far, any interesting notes to point out here? Because I don't want to just keep running for entire minutes at a time. But
I do. I actually realized I watched this person's videos a lot. I just didn't recognize their name.
Also, I recognize Gooseworks because I think they did a remake of some Undertale music. My favorite one of theirs is the dummy boss track from that game, and they have like the best remix of that song. I think.
I thought you were going to say something like, I recognize Gooseworks because there's some geese outside of my house building a fort or something. Wasn't wild like that? It's like, oh yeah, there's some Gooseworks. There's some goose working out there. Okay.
I love Gooseworks' Twitter name.
Gooseworks. Fucking tongue twister saying that.
And if I remember correctly, she might have changed it. But when you go to like her Twitter like profile, where you can like write a description of something, it's just Gooseworks, like filling up the whole space. She might have changed that recently.
I think she has changed that. I think with the popularity of things, I think she's
we don't want
more cleaned up.
Yeah, we don't want any Beetlejuice situations going on, you know.
I mean, if this is the requirement to summon Gooseworks, I'm summoning Beetlejuice first. I don't care. We need an ease of use feature with Gooseworks summoning. Fix that in the next patch, and maybe we can get something working. I mean, if it was worse before this, where it was, more than 5 Gooseworks, and we reduced it down to 5, then that's an improvement. But if you can get it down to like 3, all right, then we're talking Beetlejuice summoning territory, and I think we're good. But yeah, so Jax, very quickly, what was your opinion of Jax when you first watched the Amazing Digital Circus Critter?
Like the first episode?
First episode.
I was controversial because I didn't like him from the very beginning. Because he was kind of a jackass. That was the point of the character. It makes sense. It's a motley crew of different personalities, and he fills the angry, sassy, rude kind of role. And so I knew that. But so I was really surprised when the discourse started happening with the second episode, when people were like, "He's such a meanie," and I'm like, "Yes, yeah, the whole time, guys."
Did you guys seriously?
I think
he threw a bowling ball at Kinger and shoved him and what's her face down into the hole, didn't he?
What is her name? Oh,
why
I just
am I
had
sure?
her.
Really
I love her. Gangle? Is it Gangle?
Yes, Gangle.
I love Gangle. She is so cute.
I think it was just more noticeable because, with episode 1, it was very Looney Tunes like, he throws the bowling ball at them, but they unwind comically and then do a loop-de-loop inside of some fun slide dimension or whatever. Where with the second one, it's like a car chase and with more grounded physics, and he pulls a gun. It's a candy gun, but he does have one.
Now I'm
he uses his neutral B.
Completely unrelated. I'm now just reminded of my favorite gag from the first episode, where it's Kinger trying to pick up a part of what's the Zubul trying to pick up a part of her that's being carried by the gloinks, and his hands just carry off with it. It's the best visual gag in the entire episode.
Okay, can I just say, I love the fact I haven't watched the show yet, because y'all are just saying these names, and I'm all like, are you sure you're not naming Gundam mobile suits right now?
We could have collectively had a stroke, and you wouldn't be able to tell.
And then the Zubul... Yeah, Kaiser, we need you to hop in the Zubul D13. I'm sure you can run it just fine. It works just like the Gangle 317.
Just make sure you get the gloinks. The gloinks and the gloink queen is the important part.
Yeah. The
Right.
enemy gloink queen unit.
Okay, and and where is the part where the Skibbity Rizzler comes in? Is that the next one I need to learn about?
That's the sequel season. That's everyone's gonna realize is actually really shitty, and no one's gonna talk about.
It's gonna have a
Gotcha.
weird transformation sequence that's in 3D for some reason.
Okay, it's the AO. It's the AO equivalent. Got you.
I was going for a seed Destiny type.
Yeah.
By the way, Billy Donuts is here. The donuts have returned. So everyone,
Oh.
donuts! Woo!
I had a donut the other day. It was lovely.
But yeah, so when I first watched the episode, I liked Jax. In terms of like, I liked him as a asshole character. Like, I liked him for what he was supposed to be. So I was like, and then I remember Yuri Hunter was talking to me, and he was like talking about the first episode, and he posted, Tumblr is going to have a field day with this guy, and he wasn't wrong. The absolute simpery over Jax, and oh my god,
Crazy.
you could not go anywhere on Twitter for like a day without running into like Jax X Pomni, like, and I'm not talking the safe for work stuff either.
Oh Lord.
I think a lot of people fell in love with Jax in the first episode because of not only his antics being more toned down, like I said, but also he's one of the main characters we see, and people tend to fall in love with the main characters more because you get to see them a bit more. And also, he's voiced by Michael Kovac, who I might be saying his name wrong.
I'm not entirely sure.
And everyone just, I think it was something I said on our Discord when we were bringing up the idea of doing this topic, but I think people just assumed he was going to be like the new bunny-flavored version of Angel Dust because he voices Angel Dust.
Yeah, like I don't really know all that much about whatchamacallit,
Has-Been
Hotel. I've only watched the first episode or the pilot or whatever. But like I see the similarities that people were trying to draw a comparison to, and I'm just like, I see it, but I can tell they're going in a different direction here because there doesn't seem to be any kind of like, I don't know. Angel Dust seemed like he much more innocuous to me.
Yeah, Angel's kind of rude, but redemption is the main goal with him, and he does have redeeming qualities because of that.
I was gonna say Angel seems
so what you would say he has like less rough edges.
Well, yeah. I was gonna say Angel never seemed actively antagonistic to the people around him. It was more that like I want to get high, I want to get drunk, I want to get laid, and that's basically all of Angel does, which is all just I want to fulfill my selfish needs. That's it, as opposed to Jax, who has actively been talking about as long as somebody gets hurt, I'm good. And it's like, Jesus, man, okay.
I mean, it was the thing that stood out to me with Jax in episode 1 is he says that he put like centipedes in Ragatha's bedroom, and she's like, that is my only fear, why would you do that? And they played it off like it's a joke, but I was like, no, that is malicious. That is a malicious thing to do. We just kind of glazed over it because there was all the other stuff going on.
Well, there's also like, it's a joke, but people need to learn that jokes are still an expression of character. Admittedly, like when you get more into more like spoof films, like a Mel Brooks type film, you're not taken a lot seriously, but it is still an expression.
Sure.
I mean, like, a great example of this, I mean, one of the best gags in Airplane is I have a drinking problem, and he's constantly splashing himself in the face. That doesn't just vanish. That is a character trait of the character, and it consistently comes up throughout the story. He just keeps doing it every time he tries to drink something.
Such a good movie.
Don't wanna miss this. Izanagi for $10. Thanks.
Big go.
Oh, okay. Amazing digital circus is something that's been on my peripheral, but I've never seen it. How is it? I keep hearing it's good indie animation with fun characters. I heard the same thing.
It is. First episode is good. I think second episode is really good. I think the first episode has some like growing pains going on. I think second episode really finds some footing, some really solid footing in both the comedy and in the emotion department. So far, from our 2 data points, it is a considerable uptick. That could always change with the future, but so at current, with the 2 episodes we have, I do recommend it.
You should stream them, Kaiser. Since you're doing that, you should watch them on stream. People will love it.
I mean, as long as we don't get hit for copyright, then sure.
If anything, it might be the music.
Right.
It's really good music, though.
The music has really been pushed.
All right.
But yeah, so that's kind of where we stand. So I think me and Critter are basically on the same page that Jax, fucking asshole, complete borderline monstrous after the 2nd episode. I mean, I'm pretty sure we're in agreement there. But even before that, we were like, man, this guy, he's gearing up. I mean, even freaking Film Theory was like, oh, this guy is shaping up to be a villain. And it's like, yeah.
I theorize he might actually be the main antagonist in the end.
Maybe, but like at least from what I heard about him, because of course in my circles, people who watch this show, they told me some things about it. But here's my thing: people having bad reactions to like overtly, like not just super quirky, woo kind of edgy characters, but outright like shitty people in stories, like reacting in some weird way. I can already tell the trajectory that this is going. And it's happened before, right? I can't for the life of me bring up a name of a character, but people sometimes it happens like every generation of animation. It feels like where you have like certain characters that are a lot like how Jax is described, and people have a weird reaction just because of the fact that they are really shitty.
It's
like they don't understand like that's part of the narrative, really. And as long as the narrative treats them the way that they should, then like what's the problem? They're not all characters are supposed to be conventionally likable.
It's
That's
why
And I think it's elevated with Jax because there's so much we still don't know about the circumstances around the characters being in the digital circus. So there's a lot of theories floating around, and a lot of people have like really subscribed to certain theories more than others. Like, a lot of people think that they're all game developers who are stuck in the game they were trying to develop. A lot of people really commit to that, but the thing is that they forget that that's not canon yet. It might be, but we don't really know. And so when they get in these, like, headcanon spaces, especially with characters like this, I think that's why they're, like, jumping to the conclusion that, oh, this isn't they're ruining the character because it's not what I expected this character to be.
That is 100%. That's what I'm covering with my Hero video, because I was gonna bring up like Bakugo.
Damn. All right, here we go.
Oh yeah, I was gonna bring up Bakugo.
I was about to say,
because Bakugo is a great example of an asshole. Like, he is a complete asshole. Like, he's a bully to the point that he suggests that Deku jump off a fucking roof in the first episode, in the first chapter. Yep. It's like, Jesus Christ, man, he's really brutal as a bully. But but you see there's underlying positive qualities. He's just very rough around the edges, and that never really goes away. He becomes a better person, but he's still an asshole through and through. Meanwhile, with Jax, there doesn't seem to be any like progression towards a good arc. And you're right that people get stuck in their headcanons, and that's a huge part of the video that I'm covering. Is I think the guy got really grounded in not just his headcanons, but his predictions. And it led to a disappointment with the source material because you're not actually engaging with the source material on what it's actually presenting you.
Now I remember who now that I know which guy you're talking about, I'm very giddy to see what you talk about with this one.
It is a very interesting video because even the things he tries to highlight as positives, he gets wrongs. Gets wrong.
Gets wrongs.
Sorry.
Getting wrongs, a sentence gets wrongs.
He got it so wrong that you forget.
It infected me, guys. It's spreading. Run! Run! Save yourselves! Oh no!
My computer just catches fire.
That was unrelated.
Yeah. That's my own bad luck.
All right. Let's see what this guy has to say.
She also says how she made the character specifically to appeal to herself. With the benefit of hindsight, this tweet eerily predicted what would happen a year later. That same month, we got a teaser showcasing Jax, and he trips up and laughs at Ragatha, again highlighting that he's not a nice character. Fast forward to the release of the pilot when we finally got to see Jax speaking and interacting with the cast. He was clearly a jerk, just like Goose said, with him being a prick to the rest of the cast and showing little compassion at all. Fans quickly fell in love with him, however, labelling him as a Tumblr sexy man. If you don't know, Tumblr sexy men are popular characters that exhibit several traits, such as a dark backstory, an evil personality, and a wide grin. The shipping and fan art exploded, with Jax and Pomni being the two most popular characters. Episode 2 came out last week, and almost overnight, the perception towards Jax flipped. Throughout the episode, Jax's personality was on full display, with him manipulating Gangle, pushing and making fun of Ragatha and Pomni, to even leading the Fudge Monster back to the Candy Kingdom, presumably leading to an entire city of NPCs dying. It's pretty clear that Jax is a monster who only cares about himself. Fans were not happy at all with...
Okay. So, damn it, I had a thought, but now I lost it. Thought, come back! No, the wrongses. It's still possessing me.
That's okay. I have a thought. I think it's ironic that he's a Tumblr sexy man, and the thing that I think of when I think of Tumblr sexy men is they're always villain characters, like Bill Cipher or
the One Slur. The One
Slur. Yeah. So of course Jax was going to be the villain. It was destiny.
So there was an interesting thing that I actually did want to bring up with you, Critter, because that was something that sort of happened a little bit with, we were just talking about it, Has Been Hotel, where people fall in love with, like, the in-development nature of characters. How much of that was... How much did we know about Amazing Digital Circus going into it before it aired? I'm not too familiar with the pre-production aspect of it.
I'm not sure. I remember seeing, like, the character introductions, and Gooseworks was, like, talking about it, kind of, like, briefly here or there, but I wasn't keeping up with it really much until after the first episode came out.
Sans isn't a villain. I'm sorry. I just wanted to murder every single monster in existence. Is that so wrong? And this asshole shows up and kicks my ass. I'm sorry. How am I the villain here?
He might not be the villain, but he does say kids like you should be burning in hell, and I don't think that's a hero thing to say.
All right, so checkmate, Skeletor.
Oh, Jax is Cardin, but better. The bully part, to be exact. I disagree. I don't. Cardin doesn't have enough of a character to define next to Jax. Cardin could literally go in a billion different fucking directions for all we know. He could be as bad as Jax, or he could be redeemable, like I've kind of tried to do in Fixing. I don't fucking know.
I would closer.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I would sooner compare Jax to Francis, the villain bully character from Fairly Odd Parents.
Yes.
Yeah.
Does anyone remember that kid?
Yes.
I do.
I remember him. Dude, I almost thought that, Raymond, you were about to say that Cardin did nothing wrong.
No,
He was bullying Sean. That was base.
I mean, as Critter's new video proved, killing John may have actually been the better choice.
Exactly.
It's true.
Which, by the way, go check out that on Judgmental Critter's channel. That is a great video.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, really good video.
Thank my patrons. They voted for the topic, so they're the reason it happened.
Right.
His name is Francis? Well, yeah, it was Francis. And then there was the Blob episode where everyone got turned into blobs that were just gray. And
oh, yeah.
And then it was just... I actually love that episode so much. Because it's like, it doesn't matter, like, everyone is now completely equal and blob and whatever. No. I'm more gray than everyone else. So now I'm better than everyone else. It's like, it's such a great lesson of, like, it doesn't matter how much you even the playing field. There will always be assholes that try to justify their own superiority.
100%. Although, going back to Critter's video, I have one slight critique.
Lay it on me.
Let me think. Now, it's a bit of a nitpick compared to everything else, because I agree with everything else in the video, and I thought it was well reasoned. I think it was the way that you had portrayed that, like, Hey, let's be honest. We all only care about Pyrrha because of we're upset about like the idea of Pyrrha, and like I understand to an extent what you were trying to say, and I don't necessarily disagree. It's just I don't agree with that wording.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Being
think
being used pretty broadly like that.
there was, I think, more to Pyrrha. Like, Pyrrha had that whole tragic, she's stuck in her own head nature of her story that I actually really adore about Ruby. It's one of the few things that
Sure.
Ruby really gets right. Even though it's not, like, the most perfect thing on the planet, it's still, like, one of the plot points they executed really well of just Pyrrha can't get out of her own way. She's stuck in her own definition that she hates.
Mhm.
It's like,
Yeah.
that's such an interesting storyline. I think her death is such a perfect punctuation to that. But other than that, I thought your video covered just about every other base perfectly.
Aw, thanks.
What's one I had a thought here that
Also,
oh,
you recommend? I'm gonna definitely watch that rewrite from that one guy. I never heard of.
yeah,
their
I need to
rewrites.
bookmark those.
Yeah. You
You know
all
what?
right?
We can watch on stream.
Code
It's like
Blaze Fate.
I think it's like 10 parts long by now.
Okay, I will stream it.
Code Blaze Fate says, haven't seen it yet, but I want to disagree on the sole basis of if Pyrrha survived, she would have been horribly ruined just like everybody else. That's fair.
Yeah, that's completely fair.
Adam Damon 678
Adam,
says,
a man.
Adam a man. When I first
Amanda
saw
man.
the hate, I was like, yo, we just met him. Let him breathe a little. Damn. We'll get to that point, actually. And
Mhm.
Sky
Yeah, let him
Flash
get
says,
up.
I keep drawing connections between the treatment of dead characters in Ruby and Spider-Man. Is that weird?
What?
I mean,
Wait, what do you mean? Are you talking about Spider-Man in the comics? Because if that's the case, I absolutely agree with you.
you're going to have to actually elaborate because, like, yeah, it isn't the comics. Yeah.
There's also so
Yeah,
many
it's
different
scary.
Spider-Mans.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's talking about the comics. Okay, fair enough. I 100% agree.
Tweets and posts in the tens of thousands saying how they dislike the character now and he was ruined. People started to accuse Gooseworks of retconning him, which led to Goose making a tweet where she stated that the whole thing is planned out in detail, and she finished the scripts for episode 134 prior to the release of the pilot, therefore debunking any retcon allegations. Personally for me,
Okay. So, quickly, what makes people think that it's retconning exactly?
because they built up their head cannons.
Mm-hmm. They wanted Jax to be their, like, slightly rude, sexy boy
Dude.
who would be there for them to
Yeah,
be funny,
the
and
one-
they didn't like how much he actually became a jerk.
Okay,
The
can I
one
just
that
say-
has the soft center that you just need to ooh-woo
Oh
your
my
way
lord.
through to get.
Yeah, I see the problem. And just a quick reference, right? How much of this guy did we even see in the first episode? Like, how many minutes did we even see this guy?
Oh,
He's a main character, so he was there for
Okay.
the majority of it.
yeah, I would
Okay.
say somewhere around. I mean, how long was the first episode? Like 20 minutes?
Something like that. The thing
So-
was, a lot of it is just like meeting the characters and seeing the circus. So,
So I would
He's
say
there,
a good
but
7
it's not
minutes
like
on
it's mostly
screen.
exposition stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the sort of I can fix some kind of mindset. Got you.
I that's what I theorize about it.
Also, he was one of the ones with like a real personality in the first episode. Everyone else gets
Right.
so limited screen time that they're basically, you just see like the idea of their character, a caricature more than anything, because they don't have the room to like develop themselves a bit more, because we focus mostly on Pomni. But Jax, because he has that big abrasive personality, he's one of the ones that really stands out compared to the
it
others.
was obviously Kane, Jax, Pomni, and Rykatha that really took center stage with Kinger, Gangle, and I mean Zubul still has gotten basically nothing to work with.
Mhm.
I mean, even they did give her like that nice moment at the end was partly of her making, so that was a nice characterizing moment. But they didn't really do much with her in these last 2 episodes. I'm hoping she gets an episode of her own or their own.
My Zubul uses all pronouns, so
Oh, okay.
I looked it up when I did my character design shorts. I wanted to make sure I got everyone's pronouns right, and yeah, Zubul uses all pronouns. Wee.
The so yeah, there's that stuff going on, but like God, I had a thought and I got sidetracked.
It's just in you today.
It's just in me today. It really is. I mean, admittedly, I did go for a walk for like 2.5 miles, so it was exercise, but also like I'm tired. So the fact is, like, these characters are not the most well defined at this point.
It can't be a retcon. There's nothing to retcon yet.
Yeah,
we're still developing and establishing these characters.
I'm just trying to think.
It's only episode 2.
a single thing, like, because a retcon implies either typically something contradictory.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, a good example of that actually just appeared in The Acolyte. Have you been following that drama at all on the internet? Because you can't escape it.
I haven't seen the latest episode. I'm gonna do that after stream, actually.
Do you mind
I've heard all about it.
Do you mind a cameo spoiler?
Yeah, I'll go for it.
Kiadi Mundi shows up. He is Mr. Peanut Head in the High Council of.
I did hear everyone like complaining about his age, or something.
He was cited to have been born 40 years after this episode takes place, and he looks middle-aged in this episode that he appears in. So everyone's like, and then live as the episode was airing, someone edited the Wikipedia page for him to change his age, and it got this whole shit show rolling. That is a retcon.
Jeez.
That is an active
I guess
retcon.
that's a retcon. Like, I saw someone in response to all of this, they said that in like some original like Q&A book thing, there was something somewhere that originally said Luke and Leia were 2 years apart in age.
Well, yeah.
So them being related twins kind of got retcon.
There's another dimension. Another dimension to the whole problem of Star Wars is that people want to go back to hailing George Lucas when George Lucas was also doing this kind of shit. He just was
I was about to say.
Star Wars has always had this problem. It's just the scale of it has just ballooned to a ridiculous degree. Which
is crazy because you'd think the limit would be the Clone Wars.
Anyway, but yeah, so the point is, like, we don't know much about Jax. Is people just making their headcanons because they want to fuck the rabbit.
Yes.
Oh, I was going to say, there were, of the spicy fan arts that I saw involving Jax and any of the other cast members, there are very few of them that I would consider accurate, but there were ones that I consider, like, you could theoretically argue are in character, and they are not pleasant. They are not pleasant ones. They are the spiciest of the spicy.
Okay, someone wants to be demonetized. Anyway, let's keep it.
Well, that's why I'm not saying it directly, motherfucker.
I don't understand what the fans were thinking. It's one of those situations where the fanon differs from the canon. In the pilot, Jax was clearly an asshole who holds little regard for others. However, in the fandom, he was perceived as a Tumblr sexy man who loves his pals and should be shipped with everyone. As a result, fans had this built-up perception in their head, basically a headcanon. Once episode 2 dropped and we got to see more of Jax, fans were shocked that their headcanon didn't become true, and as a result got irrationally angry, leading to mass outrage and accusations.
I gotta say, that image of him getting angry staring into the goop, that is just so well done from like a lighting and just like expression
that looked
direction.
really good.
It's so good.
I love the way they animate his face. It's the fact that he like doesn't close his mouth. It's just like the lines of the teeth are always there. So
For all of its ills, I kind of like which could be, there could be more later. And I know there are people that just don't like this. Like, I know Fat Man does not like Amazing Digital Circus. I don't understand that at all. But like, I kind of feel like we're on the verge of like a new animated renaissance a little bit. Because like between this and like Smiling Friends, which just goes hog wild with the animation styles and the work there. Just like
Not to mention freaking Arcane Season 2 coming out this fall, people.
Oh, dude, I'm so cross on that because like I'm so excited, but it's the last season of Arcane. No.
Yeah, but at the very least, they did say they're going to be making more in this universe.
Yeah,
so,
but still.
When does it come
yeah,
out?
it's
What day specifically?
November.
We don't know. It's just November. We just
I think.
we don't have a
Okay,
date.
good. I have
Well, I
time.
thought they said a date. I thought they said a date. It was like November 16th. Fact check me on that.
But yeah, like so we got a really good serious, we got a really solid like dark comedy, and we got a really solid something kind of in between. With obviously Arcane on one end, Smiling Friends on the other, and then we got Amazing Digital Circus in the middle. It's like we got this like nice spread of like very unique things going on that I think are just going to completely shift not just the animation landscape, but I think the media landscape. I think people are taking animation a little more seriously now. Like we're actually
I think they're gonna start making more risks. You know?
Yeah.
Like we're
Out freaking time.
I mean,
I
like
know.
Primal is out, and Primal's a risk because it's a
Yeah.
violent, non-comedic, very serious, like silent. Like I don't think there's any talking in Primal, is there?
No one talks. It's at most there's just like murmurs and grunts.
That's borderline experimental, and yet it's gotten what 3 seasons or something like that.
Has it
Yeah,
really?
3 seasons.
No way.
Yeah, it's like,
Yes.
we are in a really healthy place when it comes down to not just official big production animation, but also independent animation. God, now I'm just remembering that Smiling Friends joke where it's like, dude, I can't take you serious with this thing in your face, and he just rips off Charlie's nose.
I keep quoting the CEO being like, no, that's my IP to sit on and do nothing with.
Oh, I love that one. Oh my goodness. It's so funny. It's literally what I use for Capcom and Mega Man.
Poor Banjo-Kazooie, rotting away.
I was just wondering if you wanted to come over to my apartment and get high and drink diet and fill our bellies with diet cola as we play Burnout Revenge on the PS2.
God, I love Smiley Friends.
It's so good. Oh, have you seen the most recent episode?
I haven't. I haven't.
It's good.
I need to start season 2.
Season 2 is finally over. You can catch up in a binge.
Sweet.
Anyway, Amazing Digital Circus.
Yeah.
A similar situation happened twice in 2 other shows.
Oh, what?
I was gonna say, have you seen the things that Gooseworks has talked about being inspired by?
The one thing that I saw that was for this episode in particular was the weird melted gummy elephant thing, and how that turned into the gummy elephant that they have in this episode.
From like Raggedy Ann, right?
Oh no, it was just I think it was just a picture that someone had of a melted like melted like gummy worms, and they like formed like a vaguely elephant shape, and so Gooseworks turned that into a creature in this world.
I've seen Goose.
So funny.
I've seen her like tweet about how like really old like black and white Three Stooges is a big inspiration for her.
Oh, really?
And then also recently she said I have no mouth and must scream was another big inspiration.
Oh, fuck.
So, like we're really bouncing to really different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, you're hitting the hard Ellison there. That's you gotta be careful with that. That's admittedly that is exactly what happened with Gummy Goo here. Who is the best boy and deserves. He is the Tumblr sexy man that people wanted.
Yes, it's true,
and deservedly so. He is such a good kid, and I want more of him. Got all the headcanons of him coming back and all the tragedies that can occur there. Oh.
I like how like they knew Gummy Goo was gonna be a fan favorite, and they're like, make merch now. Like as the episode drops, make all the merch of him now.
At a certain point, you're kind of able to just suss out, okay, what in the world how the fandom is going to react. You know what I mean?
I mean,
like
the first experience we had with that in Fruby was Vernal. Our Volume 5 version of Vernal. A lot of people fell in love with her. And we knew as we were writing her, we were like, man, holy shit, we have something special here.
Sometimes you just like when I made my my reversed fates design for Blake, I looked at it and I was like, people are gonna eat this one up.
When you made your clown girl who is adorable.
Yep.
God, I love Dot.
I gotta do more animations. I want to animate more.
I think that applies to the thing that I made for my newest video, which should be out by the end of this week.
Oh, interesting.
Nice.
Interesting.
Cover extensively on this channel, being Hell of a Boss and Hellspin Hotel. The first time was with a character called Stella. In previous episodes, Stella was clearly set up as a morally dubious character who hated her husband and showed little regard for her daughter. In later episodes, we got to see Stella's evil character on full display. Fans had a complete meltdown over this, accusing the showrunner VivziePop of retconning the character and accusing her of hating women. This just made no sense, because Stella was always an evil character. However,
Do you have any input on this? Because this is your wheelhouse.
Who, me?
Oh, this is Hell of a Boss, not has been.
Yeah, not has
Yeah,
been.
I haven't seen Hell of a
Okay.
Boss.
Oh, okay.
So I guess I'll just try to fill it in because I have not seen either of those shows, but what I have seen are a bunch of YouTube videos complaining about them. So, I haven't heard a whole lot. I've seen a lot of people's like different reactions to this character Stella's thing, her whole thing. And yeah, where's manga Common when you need him? True. I think that speaking of Commons, actually, I think he even said this in one of his videos. I think he said that the issue with this character, at least the real one, not the shit whatever the fuck the fandom was talking about. The critical error is that because of the fact that it's not even just that this lady is a bitch, because surprise, she's supposed to be a really shitty person that would drive their husband to like cheat on them just because of how shitty they are. But it's the fact that we barely really got much about her as a character. Actually, CBF here says in chat, my problem is her character kind of just becomes whiny and lame about it in season 2, especially. And there's not much of her really. Yeah, which is kind of a shame because the husband stole us, I believe, and his whole conflict about, his relationship with one of the main characters, which is supposed to be forbidden or whatever, kind of gets undercut a little bit when we just have this like straightforward shitty person.
I love Kaiser's role in this stream of not knowing who any of these shows, doesn't know any of these characters, and he's still here.
I told you I was creative.
Because I've seen 2 episodes of Hell of a Boss, but that's it. I've not seen anything else of Hell of a Boss. So
right,
yeah.
That's just, we're in a weird place because I'm waiting for the Has Been Hotel stuff because Judgmental Critter can then weigh in on it and it'd be a little.
Yeah, but it seems like everybody. It seems like everybody in chat is saying the same thing, that like, okay, the problem with this chick is that she's so overly simplistic. But I'm pretty sure I also know what this dude is talking about in regards to just people shitting on her and harassing VivziePop because oh, she's really mean. It's like, dude, that's fucking point. My only issue is with this guy's my only is with this video so far is that I wish he showed tweets of people saying these things.
Yes, sourcing what people are saying would be nice.
You don't even have to show their names, obviously. Just blur out the names and shit. Because I understand it's the same thing that we said during Anthony's video, and I gotta be consistent here. Pixar didn't happen. If you're saying that there is a huge behavior that is really shitty and really dumb and you think should change, it's kind of the right thing to do to just showcase that behavior so that people can understand that, okay, this is a widespread issue. Because otherwise
you could just be making up something that like making up an imaginary person to be mad at for the sake of the video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, shadowboxing, or it could signal to the audience that the problem isn't as big as you're making it out to be. Like there's probably some people doing this weird, crazy shit, but like you know, if it's not big enough to show any screenshots of, then I guess it's not really much of an issue.
I feel like that'd be
But-
actually a fun YouTube series you can make. Just call it shadow boxing or the shadow box.
Yes.
And like the entire idea of it would be you actively go out of your way to invent like the dumbest, craziest arguments and then refute them. It's like it's just like a whole series for fun.
No,
on that,
here's the thing, Raymond. I would suggest that Lily Orchard make that channel because she does that naturally.
However, like with Jax, fans had built this nonsense interpretation in their head. When things didn't go their way, they went nuts. Another situation happened with Alistair as well. Alistair, like Jax, is another Tumblr sexy man. He fits the bill as a chaotic evil character he can't really trust and clearly enjoys the suffering of others. This was made clear throughout the pilot, comics and many live streams. Once Has-Been Hotel officially came out, during one episode he found out that Alistair enslaved another character called Husk by basically scamming him, and he treats Husk horribly, almost like a pet. Once again, fans were shocked that their wholesome Tumblr sexy man wasn't who they thought he was, and got irrationally angry, accusing Vivzy and the team of ruining the character and going after anyone who likes them. One thing that has happened in
Which, by the way, aren't they supposed to be like a demon?
They are
Like one of the
literally
big
in hell.
devils? Yeah, so like, bro, what the fuck are you think is gonna happen?
It's the thing. It's the same thing I think about Jax. I also think Alistair is going to be the main bad guy at the end. All these Tumblr sexy men. I'm like, villain, final boss, got you scoped.
Oh,
Dude, it is insane.
Alpha, Beta, Omega. Alpha, Omega, Beta, Sin. I don't know if you're watching the stream right now, but you tagged me in the Tundra. Yes, that is 100% it. Congratulations, buddy. I hope you enjoy it.
Oh, wait, what did he say?
He got to what is arguably the worst part of Apollo Justice Ace Attorney.
I heard nothing but bad things about that game.
It's a weird game. I don't consider it bad, but I don't consider it very good. It's a very weak start to what progressively becomes a stronger trilogy.
Okay.
My main complaint is that Apollo Justice is not the main character in his own game. You basically gets the rug pulled out from under you, and it's revealed, oh, this other character, I'm not going to reveal who, but is actually the main character. And I'm like, that kind of takes a lot of the bite out of things. But yeah, I do recommend it, but I do recommend playing through the original trilogy first, which we might do on this channel. Who knows? I've already done one playthrough. I wouldn't mind redoing the first game with a whole new posse, especially if we get more people to carry the voice load. Because dear God,
Yeah.
And I played the trilogy before as well. So.
I was gonna say, speaking of Tumblr sexy men, that's all over Ace Attorney.
Yeah, I was about to say it's just Miles. It's just Miles mostly.
In all three of these instances is that each time, once the perception flips, fans aim their hatred towards the team and fans of these characters. One day the character is loved, the next they're hated, and anyone who still supports that character is labelled as supporting abuse or whatever nonsense. You're not allowed to like an evil character, because according to these fans, if you like them at all, you support every action they do. With Jax, I've already seen people call fans of the character abusive or...
God, I fucking love that gator. That was such a bizarre addition to the animation, but it's just so good. It's like, what can we do? Oh, we can have it being like doing quick time events to avoid getting hit. It's like, how do we visualize that? Just like this. It's like, and we're just making a long sequence of that. It's like, all right, I guess we're going with that.
To kind of piggyback off of something that we were just talking about having tweets to like exemplify your argument that you're making. I do agree, because I don't remember there being that much hate around Alistair and his portrayal in the full series. I remember like a couple things here or there, but nothing crazy.
Right.
The
only thing... Oh god, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say I wasn't going like out of my way to like look for it or anything, so it could have just been out of my radar.
Yeah, the only thing that I heard about peripherally is that, you know, that like there was some in a scene where he was doing some magic or whatever, like that Alistair was using like runes or symbols that are common in like Louisianan culture or some shit like that, like voodoo
Uh,
shit. And
mhm.
like people were being weird about that for whatever reason. I don't know the full context for that, but I heard
Yeah, I
that
don't
was the thing.
know enough about voodoo to like fully like speak on it, but from what I think I understand is you're not supposed to use certain symbols flippantly, like they mean something and you should only use them for important reasons. And so for it to be in your goofy little cartoon about sexy demons, it kind of like that was what I think was part of the problem. But again, I don't know enough about voodoo to really like speak on it.
I'm incredibly laissez-faire on that kind of stuff in terms of like, because I do complained at me about saying that they should have used the Wendigo in Ruby. They should have just gone with that thing, because for one, they got the actual thing wrong. Like the complaint was, there was a whole mess with that. I remember it was explained to me how that went, but but not only did they get the target wrong, because the Wendigo isn't the thing that's forbidden to be talking about. It got confused for
it's a different thing. Yes,
it's a different thing. And I don't know if you're like waiting there eagerly for me to slip up and say it, and then you just and you just yell at yourself. Because like
clip it, chat, clip it.
But like I'm very much in the opinion that like you can use whatever you want in a medium, even if you get it wrong. Although I do think you should do proper research. People, you're allowed to make that mistake. You're allowed to do that. You shouldn't be vilified. For that kind of stuff. My main argument is that like. So what are we going to do now? Are we going to stop using the devil as a piece of iconography just because a fundamentalist sect of Christians say that it's wrong? Like,
yeah, I'm just not. Yeah. I'm not sure if it's like a one-to-one comparison with that. I don't know but from what I could like tell, I thought there was like more reasoning behind it, but I don't know exactly. I would take this as an opportunity if the Has Been Hotel team wanted to do the voodoo symbol thing, use this as an opportunity to teach everybody about it and to like embrace it and help it be more common understood. So then there's not situations like this where three jackasses are sitting here trying to talk about something that we admittedly don't understand.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say that's the caveat with the Native American element, is that in their belief system, even discussing it is considered taboo. Like even talking about it. So informing people about it is itself a violation of it, which seems really weird to me. It kind of goes against all the properties of Sun Tzu that I'm familiar with, which is know your enemy.
It makes me think of Slender Man, where the thing was, the more paranoid you are of Slender Man, the more likely he'll come and get you. That was the like gimmick. So I can understand the idea of like just don't even talk about him at all, and then he can't. He won't. Man. Exactly. Yeah.
Don't think it. Don't say it. Don't
MG says Alistair's use of voodoo magic is disrespectful to that culture because it's not only misused in the show, but he also is not black. Vizzy claims he is, but obviously no African features whatsoever. I just took him. He's a pure demon. I don't know.
I don't know how that works. Like everybody's features in the show is like, I presume they're supposed to be much different than how they were supposed to be in life.
I mean, Hux.
I don't even know.
Husk is voiced by Keith David, and I mean.
Oh yeah.
What does that indicate that maybe he's black because he has a black man's voice? Like what do we take as an indication of someone's race? It's
another one again to that topic, guys.
I have purposefully not looked into any like what the characters were pre-death, even though there's supposedly a bunch of information out there through like Q&A streams and comics and Tumblr posts and whatever. I have intentionally not looked into any of it. Just because if it's going to be important, they'll put it in the show, and I can learn about it in the show.
Alistair is mixed. He's half black. Okay.
I don't. There's a point where it's just it's a cartoon, guys. There's.
Yeah. Unless it's a major aspect of the show, I think we can just skip.
I do agree. Like with Critter, use it as a teachable moment, but at the same time,
Yeah.
it's like you also gotta
I
let
don't
that
think-
happen.
Well, yeah, like number one, yeah, it should be a teachable, and number two, it's not worth being harassed over.
Yeah, okay, that's all. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the big thing. Don't harass people.
Yeah.
That's the number one rule. Don't harass
Mhm.
anyone. That's a bad thing.
Remember the golden rule.
Are evil. People are unable to separate fact from fiction. It's especially weird because these terminally online people can't handle evil characters at all. However, evil characters have been some of the most popular icons in all of television and media. In the past, I don't recall people calling fans of Darth Vader or Sauron mass murderers and psychopaths. It's clear that there's some sort of cognitive dissonance going on. These fans can't handle civil discourse and live in an echo chamber, so they adopt these wacky ideas that clearly aren't normal. It's a real shame because all of these characters and shows are awesome. It's just that these fans get too invested in their own little dream worlds, so they become deluded and think they run the show when they're just along for the ride. So yeah, that's everything I wanted to say about.
That's an interesting way to put it. They think they run the show. This goes back to my Hero video. There's an interesting turn of phrase that gets used where the predictability comes up as a topic, that like being able to predict certain plot points. And he says it makes you feel like you are a part of the process. That was the phrasing he used. And it's like, what does that fucking mean? He doesn't elaborate, but what does that mean? Like, do people genuinely think they have some control over the show?
I do think it's
Like,
silly to think like it's kind of like, even in situations like Rooster Teeth, when people say that, oh, Rooster Teeth was just like they listened to what the fans had to say. Maybe they did because they very much were like close with the fans. They like interacted with the fan spaces a lot. But for other things like huge,
yeah, like most properties.
multi-language properties like My Hero Academia or whatever.
Yeah.
No, there's too many voices out there. They're just gonna do what they want to do. It's their story, not the
Exactly.
fans' story.
Yeah, I mean, even,
my
even
thing-
then- oh, you go.
I'm just gonna say quickly, like what I'm thinking, what this is supposed to mean, what your guy that you're talking about is probably trying to illustrate, but I guess did poorly or didn't bother to elaborate at all, is that like there's a feeling that you get when you're watching a really good story, is that you're piecing together a puzzle, right?
Yeah.
Where you're so enthralled in the moment by moment events that you feel that, oh yeah, this leads to this. You're making all of these different connections with all the ebb and flows of it, and it feels like you can kind of see the methodology of where the author is going with it. And to an extent, I think that's fine. You know, that is very clear that you are just making a very enthralling story, which is perfectly fine. My issue is the entitlement, right? And of course this is audience centric, right? This isn't something that the author can necessarily control. The audience needs to understand that they are not in charge of the narrative. They can be a part of it in a sense that they can see where the pieces lie, but they can't make it happen. I can see where the dominoes fall, but I didn't make them move.
There's also something to be said for like what happens when you introduce a new element to the story that couldn't have been predicted. Like a good example in My Hero would be Star and Stripe. She's never mentioned whatsoever because she hasn't been relevant until the part she shows up in, and she plays like, admittedly, the guy that I'm covering kind of tries to downplay it, but she plays a massive role in basically deterring the villains. How do you predict that? How do you factor that into your calculus about what's going to happen moving forward? New characters can pop in all the time and then establish themselves in the narrative, even in the late game.
Sure.
So it's like it just baffles me that like some characters can't, some people can't like tackle that. And okay, now I have to pull back a little bit because I want to be the one to call this out now. Again, he has no sources listed here about people actually saying they have ownership of the show.
But I have,
But
I
understand the
personally
sentiment.
have seen quite a lot of things that is true about a different point that he's making, about people saying that if you like a villainous character or a dubious
Oh,
character,
yeah. Oh,
that
God.
means you
Can we
are
just
in
say
support
Adam?
of their
All we need to
actions.
do
Yeah.
is just say Adam. It's always Adam. We see this with Adam all the freaking time. And we're not even talking about people that are weird about their liking of Adam or outright defending his actions. It's just people who like him and make fan fictions about him get fucking harassed and attacked for no fucking reason because people are too triggered. They see Adam and think of their shitty ex-boyfriends or their abusive fathers, which is so fucking sad.
Oh,
It's so weird. It's so weird that this is a new thing. It is new. He is right in this video. That this is a more recent development of people associating a character, your enjoyment of a character, with you supporting their belief system or actions, I guess.
this is
brain dead.
This was a whole conversation that Manga Common actually got started. If I can cite him on this, because he reposted a discussing film about Anthony Starr, the guy that plays Homelander in The Boys. People he's quoted as saying, people are surprised, like, oh my god, you're actually not like him, and he's like, and I'm like, yeah, he's a psychopathic narcissist, so yeah, thanks, like.
And people don't separate actors from the characters.
And I
That's
think
weird.
Well, I don't think it is actually, and I want to get to the point where it's an open discussion on the nature of parasocial relationships, because we've only just recently coined the phrase parasocial relationship, and the concept I think actually spreads a lot more beyond where it's used. Like Massa has only been around the last 150 years, maybe 200 years, give or take. Like the earliest version of it would be the mass dissemination of like newspapers and novels. Like that's right. Like the earliest version of that. But like even then, since the beginning of that, people have been lambasted as being monstrous for writing about monstrous things or heretical things or what have you, even if they had an idea in their head and they just wanted to explore it on a piece of paper. It's like we have this phenomenon in the grand scheme of the human existence. It is such a new phenomenon that we are able to reach such a broad scope of people who don't know a damned thing about us. And we have just, ever since we broke that seal, we've been speeding even close to it with the radio star, then the movie star, then the TV star, then now we're on the internet star era, and we're actually going to like a new version of that where we have the influencer. Like we're just keep going faster and faster and faster, and I don't even know if our brains are built to handle it, because I'm not gonna lie, there are times where I see the public persona of a person and I presume that's them. I'm not gonna lie, I was shocked to hear Nick Rekieta. I knew about him long before the allegations came out against him, and then when I heard the allegations against him, I'm like, holy shit, how long have you been doing this? You've possibly been doing this as long as I've been aware of you? Like, oh my god, that's fucked up. Like, how did I not know? People fall for it. We have dissonance. I didn't want to believe it, but I have to. The evidence is pretty clear. Like, and it goes for a lot of different people. We don't know how to handle this shit, and it's like it's all part of this ecosystem of everyone just trying to like what they like and not be villainized at the same time. You have terrible shit happening.
That's another thing I think is now with the internet being so intrinsically sewn into the very fabric of reality these days, to the point that you can't escape it. I think people are too like extreme into their interests because they can be connected with it 24/7. Like when I was growing up and I liked Pokemon, the only way I could engage with Pokemon was playing one of the video games or watching the anime when it happened to be on. You know, unless I bought a VHS of something, of a couple of episodes. But now, if I'm into Pokemon, I could spend literally the entire day engaging with Pokemon content online. And I think because of that, people become too attached to the things that they like and also that they don't like. And that's why we have so many more, like fan space in general has become so much more argumentative and warlike because people are they can't separate themselves from their things that they enjoy or they dislike.
Yeah.
And
And we're talking about like Raymond said, most people don't seem to really be built for that. And I think it has to do with the fact, like, I hate to be armchair psychologist over here, but like a lot of this shit just comes back to the home. If you're not like taught, emotional maturity and self-awareness are things that you need to teach to people. Unfortunately, I wish you don't have to, but that's the truth here, people. So when you have a large group of younger people with all these, different like areas of technology that they can reach out to, and you're not being taught any sort of self-control or any amount of discipline, you're going to go out of control and project yourself on the things you shouldn't too much.
Hold that thought for a moment. This interaction in chat is priceless. For one, Twilight saying, I have no, because Twilight's here again, she has signal. I have no opinion on Jax. He's a purple rabbit. That's literally all I know. Every word of that is factually correct. So Twilight is the most correct of all of us right now. And then Drudolph Rain tried to describe him by saying, he's a trolly William Afton. And I'm just like, do you think that Twilight Guardian knows a fucking thing about FNAF lore?
We should totally watch the FNAF movie. Oh my god, I love it. It's so the best thing ever.
Oh god. I don't know. Like I watched the film theory on that stuff, but that's the deepest I interact with it, aside from maybe watching Markiplier or JYCT play it.
I love FNAF. It's the best. I love it.
Oh, you want to talk about establishing shit that you can't predict? Like, FNAF is a master of like, in this new game, we now go back to the 1950s, where we introduce a whole new location that was there and like got shut down for these other and vague and menacing reasons. It's like, I don't. People need to be aware that things get introduced in stories and are going to take you by surprise later because there are other things that haven't been introduced. Like, you're just gonna have to be aware of that.
Sure.
Yeah. That's another thing. People don't seem to understand the idea of the reveal anymore. Yeah. Like you weren't supposed to know everything right from the beginning. There was supposed to be like revelations to the characters or the story. And nowadays, whenever these revelations happen, I just see a lot of people complaining that I didn't know this was going to be happening. I didn't expect this. It's like, yeah. That was the point. You weren't supposed to expect this.
Kaiser, I have a good question
and like,
for you. I have a question. The Kurogiri reveal, did you consider that a plot twist?
Honestly, not like. Sorry, what do you mean by plot twist? Because everybody has a fucking different definition.
Well, what I mean by was it like something that you could retroactively have seen built up to, or something like I don't know. That's not even like a
not by a whole lot.
Because I'm just saying, because again, back to the video I'm recovering, it's defined as a plot twist, and I'm just like, it was a reveal. Not
I don't think we had
twist.
Gotten anything.
It's like I didn't even know Kurogiri was supposed to be important. It was just a thing that was established about its character. So, like, I looked at it as more of an establishing moment than I did anything else.
I mean, the idea of, the nature of what he wasn't even presented to us until, I believe, like season 5, if that.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So like, I don't think it's much of a twist.
Anyway, I just wanted to ask that because, like, yeah, you're right. People, like, they get lost between like reveals and plot twists, and I partially blame M. Night Shyamalan. He poisoned the well on plot twists. I mean, there's a lot of great plot twists throughout history, but he's like the most well known for the modern version of it, where you get like this big reveal at the conclusion of the story, where like all the different little hidden bits and bobs throughout the story suddenly add up. There's
nothing wrong with revealing things in the middle of the story, or even sometimes at the end. It all depends on the execution at the end of the day. And I don't think having reveals in of themselves are like are just bad or toxic for storytelling at all. So
who's amazing at reveals with their stories? Mike Flanagan. Have
Uh,
either of you watched any of Mike Flanagan's shows?
Yeah, no, I like I've not watched any of them. I know EFAP raves about Bly Manor.
Yes, if you watch any of them, watch Bly Manor. That was the best one. Oh my god.
I know they
Yeah, I
really
only heard about
they
that.
liked Midnight Mass, but then they hated the last episode.
It was. I understand. I get it. It wasn't a happy ending. They hardly are.
Drudolph, first of all, I just knew she didn't, so sorry. It's fine, man. I just found it amusing. But yeah, no, I know that Mike Flanagan has some really good, twists in him and reveals and such. Like I've heard pretty good things about what he's doing and what he does. What is he working on now? Is he working on something else new now? He has to be.
Oh, what was it? He has talked about working on the Dark Tower series from Stephen King. I think he's currently working on, I think it was Frankenstein or something like that. Like a classic movie monster. It was either Frankenstein or like a vampire. I don't remember which one.
He's working on something called The Life of Chuck. It's an adaptation of a Stephen King novella published in 2020. And then what else do we have in here? Oh, he did The Fall of the House of Usher.
Yes! Oh, another great one.
And The Room Returns? That's a romantic comedy. That's a swerve.
Tommy Wiseau's coming back?
No. Not that one. Anyway, like it's I'm trying to think of where I was ultimately going with this because it's all about like
It's about reveals.
Yeah,
We were talking about
reveals.
To tie it back into the topic of the stream.
Right, that's what I'm
I
trying to
think people were off-put by the, if we could call it a reveal, of Jax's truer personality, just because people don't like reveals much these days.
Which
Well-
is so weird because it's like the second episode.
Yeah, it's like you're still
Come on.
establishing things. I mean, like, technically speaking, you're still establishing things about characters as the story progresses. Development, in a way, is establishment of how they grow. It's establishing,
Yes.
oh, they are now being pushed in this direction, and that is because of these inherent natures traits of them, and these external traits that are, these external things that are happening upon them. Like you get a bunch of different mix of things. So we're constantly being establishing new things about the character as we go. There are points where like you can get contradictory establishment. So if someone walks in and says, or if someone walks in and they have gigantic feet one episode and they walk in the next episode and they have tiny feet, and it's not played for a comedic gag or it's not explained, it's just a weird
that's a weird
inconsistency.
change,
That's just a weird inconsistency. Or a character is like eating broccoli and they said, man, I hate broccoli, and they spit it out. And then like at the end of the series, they're just casually eating broccoli. It's like, that's a contradiction. That's a, what's going on there? Now you can turn that into a reveal if like they like turn to the camera and like, leer at it or something, and they take a slow bite of broccoli, like, aha, I've liked broccoli this entire time. Like you can do something like that. But like there's tricks to it. There's tricks to indicate A, that you're doing that, and or you can convey it in any number of ways.
Yeah, actually, this brings to a great example. Like in Trigun, especially all forms of Trigun, the main character Vash does not want to kill anyone, right? But in the anime, now of course it would be very stupid and out of character if he just randomly decides to just shoot somebody in the head. Like no prompting, no setup, no nothing. He just shoots somebody, we move on from it, and we don't address that whatsoever. But put Vash in a moral situation.
A no-win scenario.
A no-win scenario. Then, that's when you can actually, have that happen there.
And then you get to spend the whole following episode with him catatonic over the fact that he did it, and you can explore that nature of like the character that had a limit and was finally pushed past it. How does he take it? it's an excellent example of how that all works. And I think it's one of the things that I think the anime gets so much better than the manga, than Maximum. Yeah. Because part of it is that, like, I love the buildup of the kind of enemy of the day kind of setup of the early half of the original Trigun before, because he doesn't even pull his fucking gun until like episode 6 or 7. Like, always before that, he does not fire the gun once, and it's like, oh, it's a gun. It's a show called Trigun. Why isn't he using his gun? And then,
where's all 3 of these guns?
Yeah. How we even find how we find the other 2 if he's not going to use the one?
But
he wields 3 guns, like how Zoro wields 3 swords.
Unironically, there is a character in the manga that has 3 giant guns. And he uses a 3rd arm.
Nice.
but the idea is, like, in that 6th or 7th episode, when he draws the gun and fires it, it tells us so much about what point that he has to be pushed to where he's willing to use it. And B, it tells us that shit is about to go down. Like, it tells us a lot about both him and the situation he is in, and it establishes a lot about everything involved in it. So it's like, if people were to call betrayal on Vash in episode 6 or 7 of the anime by saying, "Oh, he drew his gun, he's ruined now," it's like, what are you talking about,
motherfucker? What?
People, so they used the word retcon for Jax with Amazing Digital Circus. I think it's also a problem of the people who are trying to complain about this just don't know the right words to use for their complaint, because it wouldn't be, in my mind, this wouldn't be a retcon. This would arguably be Flanderization, but that really only happens after like years and years and years of a show's running, not episode 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I would agree. Well, I think it could happen with episode 2 if episode 2 were like written immediately following the release of episode 1 in reaction to the content. Like, I could see that as I could see it with any episode after, you know, because I should have 1 through 4 was written before the first episode aired. Is that correct? So I could see it with episode maybe 5, maybe something like that happening. But I doubt it, especially at this rate, because like it's the exact opposite, and not to mention she predicted it. So it's like, yeah, it's more just it's establishment, and it's just violating your headcanon. That's really all this boils down to.
Yeah, and sometimes the line can be blurry, but it basically, you know it when you see it.
A lot of knee-jerk labeling from self-delusional fans blinded by their own headcanon. Yep. Is Hazbin Hotel still considered an indie animation? That's a good question. Is it?
Which one?
It has been Hotel.
Has been Hotel.
Yeah, some people insist it is, and I'm like, no. It was picked up by A24 and is on Amazon. It's not an indie anymore.
I mean,
it might be a smaller team, but it's not indie.
Definitely the pilot is considered indie, but everything after that is commercial.
I'm about to say Hell of a Boss probably, but definitely not has been.
If you want an example of Flanderization with episode 2, look at Blue from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Oh, really? God, I remember episode 2. That's the one where they go to the mall, and I remember that being a really goddamn annoying episode.
I wanted to like Foster's so bad because I loved the idea and I loved all the characters except for Blue, and I couldn't watch that show because I just hated him. He was so annoying. Every episode was the worst because of him.
He had moments of being like a genuinely good character that I actually enjoyed to watch. But I remember that he was typically the weakest element of most of the episodes. And then, God, there's the cheese episodes. Holy shit.
We don't talk about them. We don't talk about cheese.
Why did who brought up Foster's? You're dead to me. I'm kidding.
Jax. He's personally my favourite character in the series, and I'm excited to see more. If you agree with anything I said or have any thoughts of your own, I'd love for you to leave them in the comments section down below. Thanks for watching.
I was gonna say,
here's
I
an
thought
entire stream of thoughts for you, buddy. So
Yeah.
hope you enjoyed that.
It's overall solid video. The biggest complaint that we had is just cite your sources. That's about it. And I understand this is like quick digestible content. It's not supposed to be something that you're throwing out there super, like you're not doing super in-depth research on it. You're just reacting to what you saw.
Right.
But it would be nice if you put that little bit of extra effort.
Yeah,
in just
because
doing
if you
screen
were
caps.
able to show like screenshots of Gooseworks, responding to fan backlash and stuff, then
you can get pictures of the backlash.
Yeah, exactly.
It would just help. It would help boost your own argument more.
Highly recommend if he somehow sees this. Highly recommend Light Shot. It is such a useful little tool. It turns your print scheme button into like it like makes everything fade into puts a 50% opacity black overlay over everything, and you just drag your mouse over anything that you want to target. And you create this box around it, and it just gives you options to save it as a screenshot or copy so you can paste it elsewhere. You can print it, you can Google it, you can, I guess, share on social media, you can upload it to a cloud. There's a lot of options, and you can like draw on it. It's like really fun.
Hashtag sponsored.
Really cool.
Oh,
I wish Lightshot sponsored me. I use their product all the time. It's really good. So this is a solid video.
First I heard about it. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, I'll try and send you the link if I remember.
Yeah, I like Ayy Lmao. When Hasbin Hotel was like still in development, they were usually the one I would find like updates on or like how things were going. Yeah.
Oh, there's a video here about have we found Dyson spheres? Interesting. I would have loved that. Sorry, I just got distracted. So yeah, is there any more we can squeeze out of this topic? I'm trying to think of like any interesting anecdotes or conversations about the nature of creation we can get here about characters.
The problem is there's only the 2 episodes. So and we've already bounced to other topics so much within this stream already because there's only the 2 episodes to talk about with the Jax specifically.
Oh yeah, with Jack specifically, but it's like, what other characters could people have complained were out of character? Like, I mean, that's an interesting thing to think about. Is like, would people have thought? Actually, that's a good one. Pomni has adapted really quickly by the 2nd episode to the digital circus. Like, when you think about it, in the first episode, she was absolutely like just broken. She had the mind break stare, like the. So, and then the 2nd episode is like presumably just a day afterwards, and she's kind of okay with everything, or she's willing to roll with a lot more punches than you would probably presume.
I do agree. I kind of think it would be less entertaining if she kept up that same energy from the first episode,
Oh, I agree.
But that's just me.
Well, wait, it's just a question of like, is that still in keeping with the character, or are they just kind of rushing right to her being an active member of the cast? Like, there's a lot of questions there about the development of the character, and that's actually an interesting discussion to have. Is like, what is it that you prioritize? Having someone be more consistent as a character, or prioritizing their role in events? Like, that's an interesting conversation in its own, because you can try and finding the middle ground for that is a very difficult process.
Is
but like,
especially when you only have like a limited amount of episodes to work with.
Yes. So drop a fish out of water into the water, or drop a fish out of water onto the land. They have to eventually start moving, or they die.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the question is that how much you want that to be, I guess, grounded. I won't say realistic, but how much of that do you want? How much of that process you want to be presented as grounded or not?
Yeah, I guess that would definitely make a massive choice. How realistic are you making the series? How realistic are you making the characters? That sort of thing.
Right.
To be fair, Pomni.
Also, like, if you have someone like stuck in one stage of development for too long, it can kind of just feel like that character isn't doing anything.
Oh,
Jean is a
yeah.
great example. You know,
Oh, God,
him
yeah.
being in his like depression about Pyrrha arc for 3 volumes. It didn't need to be 3 volumes. It could have been 1.
Just being a namby
I mean,
pamby
here's the thing.
up until like volume 7 is also kind of an issue.
And it would have been worth it. I would have been fine with it if their relationship was actually that meaningful, at least on his end. Like, here's one of the biggest things that I took away from your video. Okay, along with everything else, I think you didn't go hard enough. I think it would have been better if Jean and Pyrrha became a couple in volume 2 and then we killed them off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
would
generally agree with that.
I would be less critical of Jean's over-the-top, like, outbursts and whatever if any other character ever got to show any kind of emotion in regards to Pyrrha's death. Ever.
Yeah. Oh my god. I mean, for all the flubbing that I did in handling the Nora Pyrrha dynamic in volume 3, god, that came home to roost in volume 6. I was so happy with her getting to just cry it out on Helen's shoulder. It was such a good moment because we never get to see Nora and Ren talk about Pyrrha. We never get to see Ruby talk about Pyrrha.
Was their friend too, guys.
Ruby literally saw Pyrrha die in front of her and says almost nothing about her the rest of the show. Unless she's talking to John about it.
Yeah, and not the 2 other friends that were in her fucking team.
It's like, how can you be so dead inside? And everyone else is standing there like normal. And it's like, Jean. Yeah. Why is it only Jean? No one else gets to be upset.
But yeah, I would, honestly, if I were to rewrite the story, I would have just gotten them both together, like, in volume 2, and then killed Jean off in volume 3 at the very end.
Yeah, have them go to the dance together.
Yeah, exactly. Because number one, it would, like you said, Critter, would have made the death that much more meaningful and tragic.
Holy shit!
And number 2, I cannot believe, okay, that you are willing to fling yourself over at Weiss for an entire volume when Pyrrha is right there.
Yeah. So the idea that like they get together at the dance and like it's this moment where Pyrrha finally gets to learn, wait, I can actually have something that I want? I'm actually allowed to have something that's outside of the preordained borders that have been built around me? Like, that moment.
And just when she got it,
and then
just when she has it,
it's ripped away.
Ripped from your finger.
My god, the more and more that, like, I'm thinking about, like, because we talked about this a lot when we discussed it on, about Cal's video, is just, oh my god, you can do so much if you kept Pyrrha alive and you just flip a couple of things. Pyrrha is such an interesting character to keep alive. Damn it, Rooster Teeth. Missed opportunities. It's with the name of Ruby as subtitle.
You can't write 2 fixing scouting.
Fixing, doing it again.
Well, I mean, I
back at volume 1.
I have actually talked about, like, I have wanted to do an alternative, but what's more of like a, not just a fixing Ruby, but a what if I were to have made Ruby, like a different perspective on it, like a much more selfish version of it. Like, I don't put any criteria on myself. It's just like, I'm going to do the things that I want over here and have my playground. Yay! You guys want 6 volumes at Beacon going up through their 3rd year? Yes, please. Give me that right away. That's why I'm like so excited for more of Evermorrow. Evermorrow doing that? Oh.
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh,
yeah,
it's like, yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would call it something called like rewriting Ruby, like as opposed to fixing Ruby. It's a different dynamic. It's like it's me
Yeah.
taking much more ownership over what I'm creating as opposed to trying to find a way to take what they have already done and fit it into functional boxes.
Yep. Which is all fair enough.
And it'd be so tempting just to take Cal's suggestion from the get-go. I'm so tempted by that. It's such a good idea.
I should totally rewatch her video. I keep thinking about
Honestly,
it.
honestly, that's why I said, I think at the end of that stream, I think we said that, like, I would be very much into discussing with her about, like, if she decides to, I don't know, go further with this premise or not. Discussing the different avenues we can go through with it.
Oh my god, totally. Like, I would be down for that in a heartbeat.
Let me see. I have a playlist full of, like, media analysis videos that I really, really like. In case we
I
want to
should
go
do
even
that.
further with this.
All my playlists for like my personal like channel is all just like music organized very poorly.
Dude, I have to look at my watch later list. I have so much shit stored up in there right now.
Oh my god. Hold on a second. I have a good one. How about the concept that is... Well, I have two characters about the... I mean, two characters. I have two videos about the same topic. Character development is overrated. One by Fringy and one by Craftsdwarf. Fringy's is shorter, and Craftsdwarf is 18 minutes.
Yeah, I like Fringy. I think Fringy would be a good one to talk about.
Okay.
You get that.
Craftsdwarf's video is also good. Yeah, I already
restroom.
have it up right now. All right, cool, yo. I'm just gonna wait until you get back.
Characters are kind of the bedrock of all stories, aren't they?
I think in terms of shop Fringy. Anyways, in terms Orion Lupin for $5. Thanks, buddy. Speaking of Ruby AUs, Critter, thank you for your feedback on my AU character designs.
Yeah, Orion's had a ton. I talk about them over on Twitter a lot. They're all very interesting and cool. Check them out. a lot of unique stuff with patterns that I appreciate. I think Ruby proper doesn't play around with patterns. And when they do, that you get things like Yang's volume 4 through 6 outfit, which is not amazing. So yeah, go Orion.
Sweet. Also, speaking of like AUs and fanfiction, next week, or at the very least, sometime on my next stream on my channel, going over the first chapter of fanfiction. The main idea, they can be about almost the topic can be almost man related. So, if possible, recommend it to me in the comment section of this video, or go to my most recent community post.
On the just overhearing that, on the topic of patterns in Ruby, like they use 3D models and all that, so you got like that going for you. But the thing that galls me is like they had such a good design for Milcha Malachite, like with the whole newspaper print on her dress thing going on. Like, that's so interesting. Why haven't we brought that shit back?
Yeah.
Orion Lupin, speaking of Ruby AUs, Critter, thank you for your feedback. Oh, that was you actually read it.
Yeah, we already read that.
Okay.
Just wanted to
We did that already. Pay attention.
And I was going to say, one thing that's interesting about character establishment, because that's what we're going to get into with character development in this video.
Oh, yeah.
Is, like, there was something that was brought up during our discussion about Ant's video. Where we talked about Ray's establishment for like combat prowess, and
or just general competence.
The general thing that's brought up that you and Twy both brought up was that she was a desert scavenger. She needed to learn these tips and tricks to survive, and it's like, yeah, that's true, and I was very much along for the ride on that. But then someone pointed out, but everyone else around them are also desert scavengers that needed to learn these tips and tricks to
and not all of them are really fighters. So it's like, this is why it's good to have like not even montages, but just establishing shots. Like we have so many shots during the beginning of the movie of Ray just going about her day, doing different things. You could just literally cut one of those sections out and just have her shown briefly just swing around her stick just to get her bearings.
Then you wouldn't have the bread that took 3 weeks to develop.
Yeah.
I still find it fascinating.
Or even just like a throwaway line.
Yeah,
like something about her being like, yeah, I remember when I learned to fight blah 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 blah. Like it is so not an important thing, but enough to establish it.
They're so pissed off from the last time you beat their shit in. Like something like that.
It's
like, well, I will beat them again if I need to.
And don't even get me started on her mechanical skills. You can easily just hand wave that with like a throwaway line in regards to that. Because let me tell you something. Scavenging a freaking car is very different from knowing how it works or how you build
very
it,
simply,
you know?
you have for scavenging 2 different parts and then putting them together and then moving them and being like, oh, it works. Raymond. Excellent. And you just...
Hey Raymond, you mean exactly what Luke did? You mean exactly what Luke did in the New Hope? Is that what you're talking about?
But yeah,
it's getting salty in here.
But you know, it's an interesting thing because I don't disagree with the idea that seeing her beat up the guys in the background is an establishment of her ability to do so. It feels like it could have been better supported. And that's something that's interesting about the nature of establishment is you can get different degrees to which something is established where it can be just sort of like brute force, kind of like that would be, as opposed to something that's just like something that's naturally built up a little bit more gradually. And then once it like manifests, you're like, okay, I see what they're talking about. There's a natural progression here. It's interesting.
Which especially says a lot because in this case, it's a main character.
Mm-hmm.
But coming around to the topic of character development being overrated among a lot of people, this actually, I guess we can just get started. But like in my opinion, development, not all good characters have to be developed. Some of my favorite characters of all time aren't necessarily like super well developed characters. They can just be engaging and entertaining on their own. Like some of the best versions of Superman, for example.
I was gonna say I'm thinking of like Jack Sparrow. What character arc does Jack Sparrow ever fucking go through that sticks?
Yeah, right. I think a lot of like westerns. Like a lot of like the cowboy that rolls in.
The man with no name.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, they're like an avenging angel type figure.
Yeah.
I mean, and on the freaking cover of Kraftwerk's video, there's Spike Spiegel. Not to say that Spike doesn't develop at all. He does. Like at most, it's sort of like his attachment to the Bebop crew that has changed throughout the story.
Mm-hmm.
But pretty much aside from that, he pretty much just stays the same.
Isa says, the way I see it, a character can have a flat arc, but they need to be entertaining or fun to watch. I mean, that, I suppose, is what is going to be at the heart of this video. I have seen this, but it's been a while since he put it out.
I have not.
Yeah, it's been a while for me, too. All right.
Characters are kind of the bedrock of all stories, aren't they? I don't know that there is such a thing as a story without characters, unless the universe itself counts as a character, and if so, somebody really ought to ask him how he's doing every now and then. It probably gets lonely being literally everything, and plus, he's put on a few kilograms over the last 2 billion years, so I doubt he's going out as much as he used to. I'd recommend he hit the gym, but what with all gyms being inside of his bulbous mass, I don't know if that's really a realistic option. Don't tell him that I called him bulbous. If characters are the reason why we partake in stories, I don't think it would be a stretch to say that creating good characters, whatever that means, is essential to good story craft. Even
I was going to try and look at that text.
Called him bulbous. If
On
characters
screen
are the
for so long, and you pause the moment it flashes off.
I know. I was. I'm holding my
a delay reaction there, buddy.
I'm holding my fidget knife. Good characters equal good story, asterisk, provided the plot isn't garbled and or stupid, double asterisk, stupid in this context, meaning the story is riddled with plot holes or otherwise doesn't make sense. And then I can't read the rest of that.
It goes into ad infinitum, which I'm guessing that's the joke.
Isn't why we partake in stories. I don't think it would be a stretch to say that creating good characters, whatever that means, is essential to good storycraft. Even though this fact seems self-evident, I don't know that I've ever been able to identify a set of unchanging essential elements to good character writing. One of the most often cited pieces of writing advice is that characters must change over the course of a narrative. By story's end, a character can't be the same person they were at the beginning, lest the reader or viewer wonder why they even tagged along for the adventure. After all, character development is good, right? We like it when characters are forced to reassess their values and grow as a result. Plus, most good stories feature characters who change, so surely character development is essential to good stories. Being the self-aggrandizing and contrarian prick that I am, I kinda don't agree with this perspective. And it's not just because I myself am incapable of changing and therefore believe that the world should accommodate my shitty habits. No, it's definitely not that. My answer to the question of whether characters must change for their story to be compelling would be the following.
Coward.
Probably, but not necessarily, so therefore no. Does that make sense? I think it does. And if it doesn't, I'd say that's on you. I mean, why should I have to explain myself if you're still...
Okay.
I've never seen any videos from this person. I'm gonna watch all of them.
He makes some
ready
really
to
great
have
videos, even though he doesn't make them very often.
Yeah, get ready to have your opinion of Endgame tank.
Oh no.
he has a pretty thorough deconstruction of that film.
Yeah,
but no, yeah. So, what are we thinking? Because I generally am agreeing with him on this one.
I think it's important to point out that good character, in regards to what we're discussing here, does not mean a good person. Like it's not the hero.
Yes.
It's not the protagonist. Well, yeah, it's not the. A good character can also be a bad person who does bad things.
The description of a good character is not a judgment of moral leaning. It is not a moral judgment. It is a quality judgment.
Like, overall, I think we can all agree that Light Yagami from Death Note is a great character. He is not a good person in the slightest.
Ryuk, good character, not a good person.
Yep.
Well, I guess existential concept. But yeah, so far.
Yeah, he's a god. He gets a pass.
Still confused, which is probably perfectly reasonable. Allow me to clarify.
Plosives.
Characters probably ought to change, but they don't have to. Seems like a dull statement, doesn't it? You're not the only one perplexed by it. I just said it and I don't even fully understand it. How about we work through it together? And by that, I mean, I'll work through it and you'll sit there and do nothing. Lazy pieces of crap. Most good stories feature characters who change. I feel quite comfortable in saying this.
Oh, goddamn! I just wanted to pause when you weren't talking, so we didn't interrupt your point.
It's been all day with you.
I mean, I'll work through it, and you'll sit there and do nothing. Lazy pieces of crap.
Okay, don't get me wrong. I like me some good old-fashioned character development who doesn't like peaks and valleys, except for deep sea divers and mountaineers, respectively.
Good stories feature characters who change. I feel quite comfortable in saying this. However,
okay, consider the following extremely complex equations. Good plot plus dynamic main character equal good story, and good plot plus static main character equal good story. Both equations can be true. Surely this would imply that whether the character is static or dynamic isn't necessarily the deciding factor.
Yeah, correct.
I think
like, I think that what was it? Like, again, with Spike from Bebop, he's pretty much what was it, static for pretty much all of, if not most of the show. In fact, something that is a bit more pointed out in Kraftwerk's video rather than this one is that characters can be dynamic and static in certain scenarios. Like, for example, there's the main character of Kamen Rider Kuga, Yusuke Godai, and for the most part, he's pretty static. You know, he's a guy who basically ancient monsters that are just doing a killing game on humans started arising from being mummified for hundreds and hundreds of years, and he is tasked with fighting them. He was a normal dude who likes to travel, and he starts to fight them. He's a lovable goofball, and he loves being around people, but he wants to protect them. But as the story goes on, you know, he gets much more weary, not to the point of complete cynicism, but in the sense that he is doing everything he can to keep it all together. And he doesn't outright say any of these things either. It is completely carried by Joe Odagiri's acting and just visual storytelling and his expressions. You can see how much it's paying him from that point on. So that there's a what was it? An example of a character who is static in a lot of ways for most of the story, but is, you know, somewhat changing by the end of it.
Twilight raised Sai is a good character from Peach Girl. I can't go a stream without mentioning my girl Sai.
Okay, we got I just put that down in the bin. Guys.
Sai is a horrible
Somebody make one of
person.
those.
Very good
Yeah.
character.
Any
But the
examples
fact
on
that
your
there
end, Claire, if you want to throw some out there.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, a lot of, like, superheroes tend to be static, especially, like, old school. The static character,
Oh,
from
yeah.
what I remember, is usually, like, an older media concept, like I said with Westerns, but also, like, especially the old comics, because they were supposed to be, like, a pillar of, like, this is what you should achieve, this is what you should aim
Inspired,
for.
I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and everyone
aspirational
around
heroes.
them gets inspired because of them.
Right. The
Yeah.
it's very interesting to me in that because like it's typically the DC versus Marvel dichotomy where DC is much more about aspirational heroes where Marvel is much more about grounded relatable heroes, which both have their place. Though I mean you can definitely have relatable moments with the DC characters. I mean
Oh, absolutely.
everyone that's had a parent pass away can probably relate in some extent to Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And everyone who's, you know, tried to work a 9 to 5 and, you know, try to meet deadlines can probably relate to Clark Kent. Like there's a lot there to
Yep.
work with in terms of these characters. Even if they have superpowers or abilities or what have
and
you.
that's not even touching on the sidekicks or teenage superheroes
that
like
were
Who
meant
always
to be
tend to
relatable.
be
Tina Robbins.
infinitely more interesting, and they never do anything with any of them in any of the movies or TV shows.
Yep.
What are you telling me that Batman and Robin is not a perfectly made film that is just enjoyable
my
for
God.
everyone?
No.
I love that film. It's so
No.
bad. I love it so much.
Me too. I love it so much.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice
The
Age!
Ice
I feel quite comfortable in saying this. However, the fact that there exist good stories in which the main character is static would mean that it's not exactly a hard and fast rule, right? Surely the existence of static characters in good stories is enough of a reason not to lend too much credence to the suggestion that characters must change, or at least not so much credence that one might throw away an otherwise interesting story simply because the main character doesn't learn anything by the end. Most sitcoms feature static characters, and I don't think I'm comfortable with committing to the position that sitcoms are inherently inferior to dramas. And if the counter-argument is that comedy adheres to different qualitative rules, then maybe this advice just isn't very helpful. Stories are modeled after life, and life is a comedy. You know, unless your existence is comprised of the perpetual passing of kidney stones. And even then, I suppose the clearest example of a static character remaining compelling to follow nonetheless would be Homer Simpson, who I'd consider to be a pretty strong television character, more so than many other characters who grew and changed over the course of their stories. He's well defined, which I think is inherently more interesting than being banal and simply
Okay, sorry. Dynamic has inherently positive connotations, which makes it very easy to associate any change in a character with good writing, regardless of whether such a change is logical or well handled. Conversely, static has inherently negative connotations. Copy-paste previous paragraph, search for antonyms of the big words.
The
and
big words and
insert.
insert. I love this. Oh my god. Yeah, Freeney does really nice stuff like this. But yeah, that's absolutely true. Like some of the worst characters I have ever seen in my goddamn life have been largely dynamic characters, to be honest.
Like,
Ruby.
okay, wait. Okay, stop.
We're
Pump the brakes.
incorrigible.
Ruby.
We can't.
Ruby doesn't have a character until Volume 9.
And you're saying that this proves my point? How?
I'm
had-
saying it
she
just
had-
proves your point because it
She
doesn't.
had character in the first volume, and then nothing, and then the last volume.
Yeah.
Where she remembered that she was a character from the first volume.
Yeah, and you know, like you can argue they were trying to give her more of a character like past volume 6, but that didn't work out.
Twy,
very well.
I'm pretty
But yeah,
sure
that's
that
an
if he
example
tried
of
to
that.
shit up, okay, good, you corrected yourself. I was about to call you out on a typo. It'd be a very awkward attempt. I don't know how you would pull that off. I guess you'd stand on your head. But yeah, generally agree with this.
Learning equally banal
Yeah.
lessons. What's interesting about Homer Simpson is that if he were a real person, there wouldn't really be that much about him to admire. Though he is a fundamentally good guy, he's lazy, oafish, and downright negligent. And despite having been routinely challenged, he's never permanently changed for the better. Yet Homer is still compelling to watch, and the moments in which he demonstrates himself to be more complicated than the stereotype he's based off are some of the most powerful moments in any show. Even if we watch it knowing that the next episode will serve as a hard reset on any potential character development. Master Chief from Halo is another, perhaps more apt example of a static character present in a good story. He's not much of a character at all in the original games, but the Halo trilogy is still tightly written. The Arbiter changes for sure, but most of the game's characters don't, and
I actually want to kind of push back against this because he does say the original trilogy, but even within that, the Chief has actual personality. Admittedly, it's in the novels, but the novels are considered canon to the games. For as much as that fucking means anymore, because Lord knows the Halo canon has been a mess since Contact Harvest. But
Right.
the idea that the Chief doesn't develop, I think, is just something that was like baking in the background. And I think Halo 4 really made a shot at trying to develop him forward from this soldier that no longer had a war to fight. Like there wasn't a need for it. I think maybe the biggest misstep of Halo 4 was they established the Spartan Force, where they're like, oh yeah, we don't need Master Chief anymore. It's like, that's not really what it should be. It should be there isn't a war for him to fight, and he's trying to look for meaning. I think that'd be a much more interesting struggle for Chief. And the idea is he goes out and starts fighting wars that he doesn't need to. And like that could be self-destructive in some way. Like there's a lot of room to explore there because
That's interesting.
he's
Also, CBF has you clocked here, buddy. Now, Raymond, you know the rule. If it happened off screen, it didn't happen.
I'm sorry that if I read the Halo books before I played the games, and so my canon for Halo has always been the book barometer.
I haven't done any of them. I don't know anything from Halo.
I-
I know Red versus Blue. That's
I
it.
genuinely recommend the first 3 novels of the Halo franchise. They're really, really good. And the exception being is you've got to make sure you get the oldest version of the printings, because newer updated versions of the printings have issues. They actually like they try to retcon shit to try and make things smooth over, but I'm the other way around. You guys should have changed your new shit to match the old shit.
Oh my lord.
And then when they tried to do that with the first printing of those retcons, they got the dates wrong. Because like in the first 3 books, every chapter
Mission
begins.
failed.
Every chapter begins with a huge text block that describes where the scene is happening, like where it's like those like things that pop up on screen describing where we are and what time and that is. It gives you the date, the time of day. It gives you the fucking place, the exact town, planet. It gives you like all the details you need to like know where you are. And they somehow just like the entire last half of the book takes place in the same year, and just all of them are 10 years off from when they're supposed to have happened. It's
Dang.
bizarre.
That is wild.
But like if you want, you can still find them online. The first 3 books come in a collection. You can get them as a box deal. And I bought a second copy of that because my old copies wore out. I read them so much.
Wow.
I read the first 3 books, I think, 6 times each. I'm pretty sure.
Damn, all right.
I might have read the first one 8 times. I just know that book was falling apart by the time I had to throw it out. But yeah, the idea that
I want to push back on that idea. I wasn't disagreeing when I said that joke. I was just joking because CBF put that in chat.
yeah, that was. But the idea is that like the Chief has a defined character. He's a very stoic character, but he has one, and it's not like he's completely static. He does grow and learn and change, and he does buck a lot of trends. He goes against orders on a number of occasions when he thinks he's correct. So when it happens in Halo 4, it was a surprise to some people, but not to me. So it's like, okay.
Sure.
Anyway, I just wanted to push back on that with Fringy, because he has some very harsh things to say about Halo 4 that I disagree with. Anyway.
Really, the story is carried by a strong plot and great world building more so than characters who change or grow. And putting all of this to one
That is true,
side,
though.
characters choosing not to change is valid, at least as far as I'm concerned. What if they were right all along? What if the point of the story is that they're unwilling to confront their deepest failings? I sometimes wonder if our desire to see characters change is tethered to our own desire to change. Maybe it's just easy to transpose our real-world ambitions against fictional characters whom we'd like to model ourselves after. The question then becomes whether our character judgments are synonymous with the quality of a fictional character, but that's a topic for another day.
I was going to say, what if the character was right all along? Hello, Poe Dameron in The Last Jedi.
Yeah. Hello, Iron Sight. No, I wasn't gonna say.
Hello, Iron. Yeah, I get what you're saying there. Vash the Stampede is a static character, and that's the point. Sort of. Okay, there's actually an interesting discussion to have there in terms of, like, is he a static character? Because we get flashbacks to him growing into the person that he becomes. So the question is he still a static character, or was it that his development happened earlier in the story and then he became static? I don't like. How do we define a character being static and dynamic at that point?
I mean, I'd probably argue that, like, since we got, Vash's past later on in the story, we're not established with him as a child and him growing and developing into the person that he is. Any information that we find in, like, a flashback is not necessarily developing his character. It's just giving us more information about him and how he became who he is. That isn't necessarily like a developmental change, right?
Right.
It can be depending on the scenario. Like, for example, there can be like a point where a character probably has amnesia, right, since the beginning of the story, and they don't remember their past, and they and the whole point is that they are trying to piece together what they had lost, right, and just developing from that information, right? That's what happened with Cloud in Final Fantasy VII to an extent, anyways. Other characters you can do in this regard, but I wouldn't necessarily say that Vash was developed of the Flash there. I still say though that he is dynamic. It's just that a lot of his ideals are tested, and there is a significant portion in the story where he does falter for a bit and has to piece himself back together and basically come out stronger the other side with more moral fiber than before.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry to be long-winded there. So yeah.
No, it's all
I
good.
just really love Trigon, guys. I'm making a video about it. Not this next video though. It's gonna be about World Trigger.
And probably another 10,000 discussions. So, what does this all mean? I guess what I'm getting at is the rule which states that characters must change for a story to be good isn't true universally, and thus it isn't really a rule at all, but rather a suggestion merely worth considering. I like to think that viewing it this way means there's at least one less restriction on what a writer can or can't do when crafting a story. Then again, I'm not exactly Tolkien, so I might be completely wrong about this, but when have I ever been wrong? Actually, don't answer that.
Yeah, unlike me, I'm never wrong. 100%. Anyway,
Very
good
fun.
video by
Very
Fringy.
funny. Yeah.
Fringy is very good. He's a regular member of the EFAP crew. He's one of the three main co-hosts, or the three hosts, main hosts.
What is EFAP? Is that like an acronym?
It's an acronym for every
Yeah.
frame a pause. It's basically the name got
Yeah.
around because they got famous for the fact that when they go through a video, they pause very frequently. Kind of like we're doing something very similar, where you pause very frequently to really digest what was said in the given sentence and the like, and really like understand what the person is talking about. Which weirdly, a lot of people criticize them for, but like, oh, you didn't let them finish their point, and it's like, well, they are like, these
Okay,
people.
but what if they finish their point and it's still bad?
Yeah, well, it's like that's always the case. Like in terms of they do eventually let the person finish their point, and they feel like there was something more to be had. They do rewind and go back through it, because the way is like people forget that the way you can break down language goes typically in like all right, you think of it like an essay. You have the whole body of the essay, then you have the sections of the essay that cover different topics, typically with like a introduction and a conclusion that bookend them. Then you have the paragraphs within those, all of those sections. Then within those paragraphs, you have the individual sentences. Then within those sentences, you have the individual clauses. And you can break all those down into minutia and try to accomplish some understanding of the whole by piecing all those together. And I think they'll just get mad that what they do is they like scrutinize a lot of different clauses and sentences and are like, wait, what do you really mean here? And then if it doesn't line up, it just kind of goes into like, well, that's you're kind of ruining your own point, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's he was the one that came in after Wolf. Wolf sadly retired from the internet because mental health wanted to not deal with the internet.
Well, aside from putting together the EFAP clips.
He still hangs out and helps out with them, but he doesn't do like any public stuff. My brain got the two words confused.
Political. Wait, what?
If you want political stuff, that's more on Rags' territory. Fringy likes to be much more neutral. He doesn't talk about politics stuff, I don't think.
Right.
But yeah, I do recommend Fringy. He's a lot of fun. He just is slow to output because he does draw all of his avatars. But yeah,
really cool.
Do we have any more thoughts on the nature of character development?
I don't think so. I think we've kind of covered it all by this point.
Yeah, I think we could probably like there's like a different avenues to go down that were just like not in the prime direct, because like how you develop a character, like the process of the how we haven't really touched on too much, but I feel like that's like a different topic for a different day.
Yeah, I was about to say, all I can really say is that in a lot of ways, at least from personal experience, there are some characters that kind of get derided and get sort of like shoved aside because they're not super well developed. Like it's if you prefer characters that go through much more dynamic changes throughout the story, that is perfectly fine. You know, everybody has their preferences, no big deal. But if you're trying to say that a character is bad because they are static, now that's where getting it. I mean, you know, that's when you come into my house, right? And I gotta do what I do with everybody in my house, which is sit them down, give them a cup of tea, and tell me why you're wrong, and tell you why you're wrong.
I was waiting for you to go that British advertisement where the guy's just slapping everyone.
Yeah.
It's like at some kid's birthday party. He just slaps slaps the dog, slaps the children, slaps every adult in the room. The police come in to stop him. And he just slaps.
I mean, that's just here's the thing, man. I'm just pulling the intellectual equivalent of that basically, because there is a special place in hell. This is a joke. This is a joke in Minecraft. For people who say that Superman is boring. Okay? There's a special place for those types of people.
Good thing I like it hot.
There's a special place in hell for people who touch children and talk at the theater. That's Firefly quote, although I think I butchered it, if I'm being honest. Shepherd Book. Everyone watched Firefly. It's amazing. But you just kept saying there's a special place in hell, and my brain was just like, I gotta use that quote. I thought the Lord was... I thought the Lord said, you know, had some... I thought the Lord had some particular things to say about shooting people. And Shepherd Book's like... He was a little vague, however, on the subject of kneecaps.
Okay, I need to watch this now. I always hear good things about Firefly, but I haven't
it's
seen
only
it.
14 episodes, and it's some of Josh Whedon's greatest work. It's easily his
Oh
best
yeah,
stuff.
Joss Whedon did make that.
Yeah. It's a shame that it got canceled, but yeah. And they keep trying to revive it, and it's like, guys, the moment's passed. Just let it die. It had a movie conclusion. It was good. Anyway,
fair enough.
thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all had a good time. I think we all had a pretty good time, even though we're down a co-host and just it felt a little quiet. But you know what? I think that's good from time to time. We're relaxing a little bit. Maybe next week we'll have a much more energized topic to. Admittedly, we actually I think kept up the conversation pretty well, all things considered.
Yeah, I was about to say, don't sell us short, okay?
If you want to check out a complete Firefly, check out Outlaw Star. I tried watching that with Twilight. The opening is not as good as Firefly. Firefly has a much stronger opening episode. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all had a good time. Do you guys have anything you want to shill for your channels?
Yeah.
On my end. Oh. Go ahead, Critter.
I'll go first. I'm doing Ruby Reversed Fates. It's happening. My own AU. It's happening. I'm on episode 2 is out by this point. And then this Thursday, patrons will get episode 3. And it'll be up for everyone available on Friday, episode 3. I really like episode 3. There's a lot going on in it.
All right, sweet. And on my end, I'm going to be releasing a new video about World Trigger. It should be done by the end of the week. I already have some really, really good parts just waiting for you guys. I'm upping up the presentation for this one because this is going to talk about a special part in the series near and dear to me. So I hope y'all enjoy that. I got a new stream that I did last week or the week before responding to a Lily Orchard video. It's separated into 2 parts, unfortunately, because midway through, my freaking Wi-Fi died. So that was fun. You know, scuff semblance at it again. But at some point, I am going to start making highlights of my streams for y'all to get a little taste of what I do there. Thank you to everybody who's here, who was already in the stream and donated. You guys are great. Y'all are the champions. Other than that, that's pretty much all I have in store for right now. Oh, by the way, next stream on my channel, Kaiser versus the World. Like I said before, I'm going to be reading first chapters of fan fiction. So if y'all have any interesting like Ruby AU or Ruby related fan fiction with interesting first chapters, it could be good, it could be bad, it can be something else. Be sure to just comment below or comment on my most recent community page. In fact, I think I'm going to make a community post.
I am tempted to recommend one of the Ruby X Ozpin soulmate fanfics that are out there.
Oh my god.
You would surprise you that there's
post it down below
one.
if you want. I mean, I'm not surprised. Like, after all the shit we were talking about with Tumblr, sexy man, come on. Come on.
And I have just started recording for my My Hero Academia video, which is going to take me a while. I only got through about a 10th to a 9th of the actual script. So, yeah, we'll see how long that takes. But, yeah, other than that, I don't think there's anything else left to say.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for showing up, and we'll catch you all on the flip side.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See y'all around.
Ah, Twilight!